How did you get started with Liberated Learning?
I started in the classroom, a very innocent, pure heart, ready to serve kids. I was that older sister that had all the kiddos at the barbecue right around me and giving them little assignments. So it was kind of my life's calling, it felt like, to be a teacher. And I was met with the reality of teaching as we are as first year teachers. And it was really hard. It was really, really hard to see the kids in the environment I was at treated in certain ways. Certain practices were just confusing to me as a human being. Why do we do that to kids? So it sent me right back to school my first year teaching. It was like, nope, I don't know enough. I didn't feel prepared enough to be in the classroom. And so I went right back to school and I got my master's in curriculum and instruction because I was curious about what are we teaching kids, the content, and how are we teaching them? Why are we just standing in front of them and talking at them and not engaging in the concepts? And so that took me down a crazy rabbit holes of culturally responsive pedagogy, the work of Zaretta Hammond and brilliant other minds that have paved ways for us to understand a colonial system, a colonized system of education, the whitewashed system of education. And this is why we behave the way we do in education, because we're trying to get kids to assimilate. And I was like, well, you don't say. This doesn't feel right. No wonder it doesn't feel right. But now I had this academia in my mind of like, oh, but there's all these ways that we can move forward that will help and that are the way. And so restorative practices, social emotional learning, these things that I did intuitively my first year teaching, like having morning meeting, they started having real backing to them and real, oh, that's why we do that because of research. Fast forward, I tried making my way in education and I just couldn't fit in anywhere. I tried different, reading intervention specialist. I was helping kids tutoring and I was trying to find my way. I went back into the classroom teaching eighth grade. And then I started teaching teachers, doing workshop work, writing curriculum, and then realized that I could do that kind of work myself. I met up against another organization that was trying to put me in boxes, and it didn't feel right in my spirit. So that's when I started thinking about entrepreneurship and doing this work that I could see so clearly as a teacher with that vision, right? Like what gaps were missing. So the social emotional learning was a huge piece for me. The restorative justice practices are a huge piece for me. And then more recently in my career, the somatics became a weaving into my work. So as a young person, I had a syndrome or a condition called vasovagal syncope, which is a fancy way of saying that I would faint in certain situations, especially medical situations. The doctor wouldn't even have to touch me. They could just tell me what the procedure was. I remember I was getting a consultation for LASIK because I used to wear thick glasses.
Wow.
She was just telling me about the procedure, and I fainted for like a minute. Like I was just out. And I just kind of accepted that that was something that happened to me. I didn't really think deeper about it at the time until I tore my ACL. And that was now 3 years ago. I tore my ACL playing soccer with friends, played soccer my whole life, but just playing with friends one day tears her ACL. Surgery was my worst fear, like my worst fear. And with this condition, I was really concerned about how am I gonna,
Things.
yeah, of course. How am I going to get through surgery if I'm fainting every 5 seconds? So that sent me down a path of having to look at this condition and blessed and really grateful that I was working with a somatic art therapist at the time. So the world of somatics was very new to me, but she was slowly showing me this is what it means, this is what it means, and then practicing together in our sessions. She helped me cure that syndrome by helping me ground. It sounds so simple, but just bringing some lavender essential oils, putting some on my wrist and just breathing, breathing into the scent helped my body stay present. And then she taught me how to in the medical rooms just look around the room. I would fixate my eyes on a painting or something beautiful and just tell myself, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, and help my body remember we're here, we're safe. You don't have to escape, because essentially it was my body trying to protect myself from something perceived harm, right? So that was my first introduction to somatics, was really through that real scary time in my life where I had surgery and I didn't faint. I got through it. And it was beautiful. Thank you. And not even 2 months later, the beautiful life things happen where synchronicities line up, and I was offered a scholarship to this certificate training called Somatic Activated Healing. It was like a no-brainer for me that I would go because scholarship, and it was one of those things where you get the email on Friday and then they start on Monday. So it was like, okay, let's go. And that changed my life. There's no other way to say it. And so now somatics is a big part of all the work I do in bringing these kind of learnings to education, to parents, to families, and organizations as well. So yeah, I think I hit on all the high notes there.
Wow, I just want to say, wow. First of all, didn't even know, like, I would have never thought that your journey would have went from you being like an educator and realizing all of the things, right? All of the wrong things that, maybe push you away from education. Not everyone, but it does
Right.
happen because it happened to me. And I'm not ashamed to say that. Like, we're still educators even outside of the classroom. But you went
Totally.
from being an educator to going back and getting your master's in curriculum, learning more about like curriculum development and all that goes into that and what we need to learn better, teach children, to finding a healing practice for you that now you're using in your work. I just feel like that's so beautiful.
Thank you. Oh, thank
Because
you.